Hey guys, Hamsterwheel here with a new video, and it's been 2 weeks since Classic WoW has launched, so I figured I'd share my thoughts on Classic WoW and what it's been like so far. I'll be covering this from launch to now, so without further ado, let's get started. So I've talked about this multiple times on stream, and I posted this on my community tab as well, but in terms of the last few weeks before the launch, I wasn't too happy with the way Blizzard handled things. They announced way too few servers initially, were too slow with opening up new ones prior to the launch, and it was only after the launch that they started opening servers like crazy. Unfortunately, this was more like applying band-aids to an already existing problem, because many guilds and groups of people were already committed to rolling on X server, making it harder for them to budge and migrate to another. And even if you did, you always had to leave at least 1 or 2 friends behind that you wanted to roll with, which really didn't help in bringing the community back together, but split it apart way more. This could have been prevented if they opened up way more servers before launch, so people wouldn't have to change servers last minute or move over to one prior to WoW Classic launching. Whether they didn't do this because of underestimating the demand or playing it way too safe, I don't really know. All I can say is that I'm really not too happy with the way Blizzard handled the launch of Classic WoW in terms of servers. Anyway, let's talk about the meat and potatoes, the game itself. So me and my friends decided to roll on the Flame Lash PvP servers, one that opened up shortly before Classic WoW launched, and when the server went live, it actually wasn't too bad. The first few minutes was of course an absolutely mind-blowing sight, with tons and tons of people running around in the starting zones and the epic tag wars that came with it. At first there was a lot of lag on this server, but I'm happy to say that this was dealt with rather quickly, and after 20 minutes or so the game became very playable. Of course, with the dynamic respawn timers, mobs would start to appear a lot quicker, and before I knew it, I was actually able to kill mobs over and over again, and slowly but surely make my way out of the starting zone. Though, I've heard stories on different servers where the game was downright unplayable. Dodgy Kebab even sent me a video of where everyone on his server was just stuck in one place and no one could do anything for quite some time. Which kinda reminds me of some of the launches of the private servers I've seen, so it was interesting to see that for some servers, the launch experience a multi-billion-dollar company could offer is the same a bunch of fat neckbeards in their mom's basement could offer. Also, during playing there were a lot of random disconnects for people, which really sucked because you would get pushed back all the way to the end of the queue, meaning that for some people they had to wait like 6 hours until they could play again. Which is something I have to mention. A lot of servers have suffered from really high queue timers, and people said, well, it's your fault for rolling on a full server, like Herod or Golmag. Except for the fact that even brand new servers were facing the exact same issues. Mograine, Gehennas and Firemaw all had extremely high queue times, and I've heard some very nifty ways to deal with the queues, like setting up an external desktop where you could log in from work 2 hours before you get home. And I've even seen a post from someone who trained their 5-year-old kid to log on for them, so when that guy got home, he'd only have half an hour left in the queue. To be fair, some of the queues died down, especially on the newer servers, but from what I've heard, they are still very long and prevalent on the original PvP servers. Anyway, after the initial launch and traversing the starting zone once again, things got better after I got out of Durotar and made my way into zones like Silverpine Forest and the Barrens. There, the people were more spread out and there was more breathing room to kill mobs, and I also managed to get a group going for both Ragefire Chasm and Wailing Caverns. It was very refreshing to have people talk to each other in the dungeons, not just for tactics and marking mobs, with the tank communicating to the DPS on which mobs to focus and what mobs to CC, but also during packs of trash mobs, people would talk to each other, having a bit of banter and just hanging out. It's what I really missed in the more modern expansions, where I feel like everyone is in just such a rush and dungeons are such a face roll to the point where people just don't even have a single peep in chat in dungeon runs anymore. And even after those 2 dungeon runs were over, everyone thanked each other for sticking around and we'd add each other to our friends list, so at a later level we might bump into each other again for the next dungeon run. One thing I did notice though, which is something some people that were playing the beta said before, is that the mobs in dungeons seem to do less damage than what they did on private servers, which kinda makes sense, as some of the damage values were just a complete guessing game to the people who made those servers. I mean, I've played Vanilla Gaming and Elysium and a few others, and those mobs really felt like they hit harder than in Classic WoW. So where am I at right now? Well, as of right now I'm only level 30, and that's mainly because I haven't had a whole lot of time to level, and I promised myself to take it slow and really enjoy the most out of Classic. That means leveling all of my professions, for instance, including cooking and fishing, and also focusing on what quest I want to do and what zone I want to explore at any given time. Sure, if I would have used a leveling guide, I would have been higher level, but that's not how I want to play. Using a guide is more efficient, but I like just doing what I want at any given time, and I play this game mostly for fun, and I'll start getting competitive once I reach level cap and start doing battlegrounds. I know that by now the World First 60 has already been achieved, and grats to Joker D for completing that, as well as the World First MC clear, which was done by Apes. Oh, and by the way, I just wished I put some serious money behind my claim that private server players would leave retail players in the dust, so I could cash in right now and retire. To me though, it doesn't really matter. I'm really happy that they're so far ahead and have done so many things in Classic WoW already, because I'm just leveling at my own pace. The community so far has been great. Old Baron's chat is back with its horrific Chuck Norris jokes, fellow adventurers actually buff you when you pass them on the road, and people want to team up and have a chat when you're doing a quest or running a dungeon. It's all just a very cool and very social experience, and it really feels like I'm playing an MMORPG again with all of the excitement, social interaction, teamwork, coordination, and dangers from the other faction. Emphasis on danger, because being a level 20 Horde in Hillsbrad Foothills basically makes you a free kill for the mid-30 Alliance players that are strolling around South Shore. Which can be annoying at some times, but during other times was also really fun, where someone would finally get fed up with being ganked, look for more Hordes, and then you have these awesome fights of 8 Hordes in their 20s taking on only 2 or 3 Alliance players in their mid-30s, and it was just really cool to see and be a part of, and that's what I like so much about Classic. You're not given an option to just turn PvP off. If you roll on a PvP server, that's what you get. And if you get ganked by a high level enemy player, you call for help, which results in these epic battles. I'd have to say that bugs are very few and minor, with only a few things I noticed, including my pet being very slow to run back to me after I kill a mob, or after I command it to come back, leading into some frustrating moments of taking unnecessary aggro. Selling and buying goes horrifically slow for some reason, and I guess it's because of the high pop or the layering. Oh yeah, layering, we gotta talk about that. So from day one I was against layering. I understand that it would make leveling more convenient, but Classic WoW is not focused around convenient stuff. It's supposed to be chaos, especially in the early stages of the game. If you can't handle a lot of people in one zone, go to another. Wait with leveling a bit, or just suck it up, quit crying and deal with it. But now we have layering, and a lot of people are quote-unquote abusing the shit out of this system, using it to farm things like Black Lotus much quicker, using it to dodge PvP combat, cause you can just jump to a different layer. It's a damn mess, and it should have never been in Classic if you ask me. However, now it's much too late to turn things back. You see, the servers have such a high cap that you can either have layering with all the bullshit and abuse, or turn it off but have a much higher server population that was nowhere near the server cap way back in 2005. Either way, none of the options are quote-unquote Blizz-like, and it's kind of a shame. Again, if much more servers with a lower population cap were available a few weeks before launch, instead of just a few with a very high population cap, the player base would have been spread out much more evenly. But oh well, we can't exactly turn the clock back 2 weeks now, can we? So, with all things considered, what do I think of Classic WoW right now? Well, overall I think it has offered a great experience so far. Despite me having problems with the way they open the servers and layering, I'd be lying if I saying I wasn't having any fun. It feels good again to play a game that doesn't hold your hand while you're leveling, a game that doesn't give you everything on a silver platter. It feels good to start out as a complete nobody and having to fight for almost every single thing that you want. This means that killing simple non-elite mobs or gathering tin ore feels rewarding and satisfying, because there's always a challenge and danger involved into getting it. I'm not just charging in like a brainless moron and AoEing the whole damn place with just a tap of a button. I have to carefully time my pulse and watch my surroundings everywhere I go. It feels good to be playing again, and I can look past the flaws and see that Classic so far has turned out to be a very solid and enjoyable experience. And I can't wait to see what it's going to bring me in the near future. And that's all for today. I hope I was able to convey my thoughts on what it's been like to play the rebirth of one of my favorite games of all time. And I know that my experience can be completely different than yours, as some servers had it worse than others. So let me know in the comment section below on what it's been like for you to play Classic and the things you came across that you did or didn't like. As always, I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm Hamsterwheel and have a good one.